I have discussed extensively the position of the Patriarch Kirill, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, on the war in Ukraine. He has much to lose, his reputation as a religious leader and an authority figure, and a big chunk of his congregation in Ukraine. Yet, sadly, he chose obedience to the regime over the interests of his own church. And he has serious reasons to do so, due to a privileged position that the church holds in Russia, yet heavily dependent on the regime. The religious policy in Russia throughout the history has been mostly expressed in a clear message: comply or goodbye. Despite all legal, ceremonial, fiscal and ideological privileges that the Orthodox Church has enjoyed, this policy applies to her as well. There have been too many events in the Russian history when the church leadership was either totally destroyed or seriously damaged in order to make her obedient. Among the most notable leaders who broke the church were Ivan the Terrible, Peter the Great, Lenin and Stalin. The Russian state has not been too delicate towards the dominant Christian community, much less so when it comes to the smaller churches, especially the marginal ones. Most of other churches were persecuted throughout the history, even the ones that mostly consisted of foreign expats. Some communities like Reformed Baptists, unregistered Pentecostals and Jehovah's Witnesses refused to compromise their faith for any rules and legislations. There were, and some still are, harshly persecuted for that. Most of the survived Christian churches nowadays either totally support the regime or, more frequently, try their best to show political neutrality and abstain from any judgment. The leaders of the churches vaguely call for peace and to end the suffering. Most communities, however, do organize aid for war refugees and their fellow believers in the war zone. This is characteristic of Baptists, Adventists, and Catholics, for instance. There are, however, open supporters of the war. Among the religious leaders, those are Metropolitan Kornili of Russian Old Believers Church and Bishop Sergei Rikhovsky of Pentecostals. It is very important to note, however, that just like the Patriarch Kirill, those two cannot represent their whole communities, which are very diverse. There are no religious leaders openly condemning the war. There are, however, notable and well-known religious figures like Deacon Andrei Kuraev, who is currently sanctioned by the Russian Orthodox Church and cannot serve in liturgy, but is a very popular religious blogger. There is also an ex-chairman of the Baptist Union, Yuri Sipko, and few others who do not hold formal leadership positions at the moment. There are, of course, many priests or deeply religious laymen who condemn the war and many of whom face repercussions. Please like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. I see you all next time.